morning, Daniel.
You hear that?
Hey, good morning. Let's call the Rankin County Board of Supervisors February 15th, 2022 meeting to order. We'll start by an invocation. Mr. Slay, good morning. If you wouldn't mind starting us out with a word of prayer.
Father, you are holy and your name is holy. Father, thank you for providing for us each and every day, for providing for the needs that we have. Thank you for giving us wisdom, for insight, Lord, for the discipline that we need to come and to conduct the business of the county. We need your presence with us today. We need your power with us today, Father. We stand in need of your help. You give it to us when we ask. Father, if any man needs wisdom, you freely give it. And so, Father, we ask for it today. Thank you for the men and women who are serving us in places, Lord, and at times when it's dangerous to do so. Protect them and bring them home in Christ's name. Amen.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Slay. Public comments. Jared, I know we've got your all-star crew out there from Florence High School.
Yep.
The Lady Eagles soccer team. Miss Janice, can you bring
Yep.
them in?
I sure will.
5A state championship.
Rankin County did well this year, didn't
We did really well. And our
it? 5, 4, and
6. Yeah.
Two
And our,
girls and one boy.
and our boys got beat in the championship game.
That's right, sure
The
did.
boys
Yeah,
at
I
Northwest
watched that.
Franklin were number one in the country.
I saw that.
Hadn't lost but one game in 2 years and got beat by Clinton to lose it.
Yeah, I remember
In
seeing
overtime.
that. Saw that on the TV. Yeah, sure did. Well, look, this is a young group. They got 2 seniors.
Really?
Yeah. Look.
But they're fast.
I mean, you were saying, you
We'll go ahead and call them up here and line them up.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna read
We'll
something.
get them all. He'll get them all up here.
Good thing y'all didn't play Pisgah.
Who's gonna have a soccer team?
Huh?
They don't even have
I didn't think they. Do you even have a soccer team?
Okay, y'all can be all happy and everything. It's you know, you can be happy and smile and everything. This, yeah. Even though the principal came in, you can still be happy.
All right, ladies, welcome to the Board of Supervisors. We're going to let Mr. Slay, our board attorney, read a resolution for you that we've crafted. And I know Mr. Morrison wants to probably say a few things as well.
I tell you, let me just start out saying this has become a habit, and we like this habit. And we like, and we're really proud of y'all. We're really proud of Rankin County because Rankin County had a lot of success this year in the soccer world, and y'all all know that. But we're proud of you, and you know, y'all have, I guess, set the bar high. And I tell you, it goes back to these coaches. They really do an exceptional job with you, and we're proud to have the coaching staff we have here and the administration that supports y'all. So anyway, we're tickled to let Mr. Slay go ahead. We're proud for you and glad to hear you. Y'all can smile and be happy.
Principal Martin, can you come forward, please, sir? I know this is not your deal.
No.
But we do want to recognize Tony Martin's principal for Florence. And so we're really grateful that you allowed the girls to come and for us to be able to host them this morning. Coach Hood, come forward. Coach Kavanaugh, come on. I think Josh was trying to stay in the background over there, so we're going to bring him out whether he wants it or not.
Well, if you ever see his collection of rings, it's pretty impressive too.
So Coach Hood's head coach, Coach Kavanaugh, our assistant coach, and have just done a masterful job with the ladies. And so I'm going to read this resolution. Girls, I'm going to butcher some names, and I just apologize ahead of time. But when you hear your name called, please come forward. You're going to come up here and stand with the coaches and with Principal Martin, and we're going to get your picture after we read the resolution. Okay? So y'all be. If I butcher bad enough that you don't know if that's your name or not, just come on. All right. Here we go. This is a resolution recognizing and congratulating the Florence High School Lady Eagles soccer team on their 2022 MHSAA Class 5A state championship. And this is not, I actually had to change the resolution, not just for the names. We actually had to change it because the last one said 4A. So y'all moved up in a classification. They're now playing with bigger schools now, and they're still with us. So what? All right, here we go. A resolution recognizing and congratulating Florence High School on its 5A state championship. Whereas the Florence High School Lady Eagles won the 2022 Mississippi High School Athletic Association Class 5A Soccer State Championship by defeating 3 times defending state champion Lafayette High School in a thrilling 3-2 championship game. This state title marks back-to-back championships in 2 different classifications, and the school's 5th title overall. I counted them up: 2012, 2013, 2018, 2021, 2022. All right, so we're on a roll here. Whereas this talented group of athletes competed at the highest level in a total team effort that resulted in a season record of 22-1. We're not talking about one. One doesn't matter, but the one was pretty impressive. Members of the team are Shaylin Quick, Madeline Edwards, Christina Guzman, Addie Grace Barnard, Brianna Goza, Megan Spencer, Leslie Carroll, Riley Raymond, Kaylee Lilly, Ashley Starnes, Caroline Sanford, Cameron Frazier. Y'all can start at the second row here for me. Rachel Parr, Sydney O'Hare, Mary Elise Taylor, Kylie Clover, Skyla Yount? Yep. Okay. Kendall Patterson, Cameron Clover, Ella Grace Sanford, Emma Marchant. Y'all know who this last girl is? Addison Grantham. Addison goes with Brian.
And Chuck. Come on up, Chuck.
Hey, Brian, you want to come up here also?
Yeah, get up
One of our other elected officials from that part of the county. Chuck, give us 1 second. We get Grantham up here. He's having a good hair day, so we want to be sure we get him involved.
Well, you could hurt me in that photo session.
Okay.
All right.
There's a little bit more here. Y'all gonna hang in here with me. Here's a really good statistic for this team. The most impressive statistic compiled by the Florence High School Lady Eagles soccer team is their overall team GPA, which stands at 3.87.
Wow. That's all.
Thank you, Clark.
Smart ass.
Florence High School soccer coaching staff is under the direction of Coach Bill Hood, Assistant Coach Josh Cavanaugh, Principal Tony Martin, and the Athletic Director Ryan Husky, as well as the administration of Florence, are to be commended for their outstanding commitment to both academic and athletic success. And therefore, it is resolved by the Board of Supervisors that we hereby commend and congratulate the members of the Florence High School Lady Eagles soccer team, the coaching staff, and administrative leadership of Florence High School for their championship 2022 season. On behalf of all citizens of Rankin County, we extend our heartfelt wishes for continued success on and off the soccer field. Coach, this is signed by each of the supervisors and by our Chancery clerk, and so I have the original of it to send back to you ladies. Congratulations on a fantastic season.
Awesome.
Now you get to go back to class.
We kept you as long as we could.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, great job, girls. Congratulations.
Yeah, see y'all next year.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Good job.
Appreciate it. Hey, keep it up. Yes, sir.
Congratulations, man. Thank you. We're gonna have to recruit one of y'all over to Pearl.
Neat thing about him, he's a graduate of Florence. He's never left Florence.
Really?
Good dad, Bill Cavanaugh. Attorney.
Yeah, I saw him.
Right.
Yeah, perfect.
No, he never left. Went to school, graduated with my daughter. And just, there you go.
Love it.
Rain.
12 years old.
All right, item B, under public comments and recognition, we need to get this addressed pretty fast as well. I know we got our fire coordinator, Brett Ishies, here. So, Brett, you step up and kind of just get us up to speed on our burn ban and what you're asking for.
Okay, so today I'm coming to y'all asking for a burn ban for Rankin County. Since last Thursday, we've had a total of 6 structure fires. We have had 26 grass or woods fires, which related into about 42 calls between rekindles and stuff like that. I've been on the phone with the fire chief from the Forestry Commission. Yesterday, they put us under a red flag warning, which basically means the conditions are almost perfect for burning. They are not allowing any burning. We talked about Thursday. I know we got a potential for some rain coming in due to the lack of rain that we've had over the last month and a half. The small amount of rain that we're going to get with the relative humidity and the winds is not going to be enough to make a change. So I was on the phone again with him this morning. Told him that I was going to present this to y'all. He agreed with that. I talked to Brad this morning. He had a concern about the Forestry Commission issuing burn permits to landowners. They are not going to do that till we lift the burn ban.
Is this the same as, are we following this?
State.
Just the state and everything? We're not just doing it ourselves?
We are doing it ourselves right now. Yes.
We don't usually do that, do we?
Just depends. We have in the past numerous times since I have been here. Yes, we have. Sometimes we follow along with the state, but because we're at the top of the cone, the whole entire state is not doing it. We've got a lot of surrounding counties that are around us that are joining us that have already put in effect a burn ban.
They have?
Yes, sir, they have.
It's not unusual for us to do one, we're localized, and then shortly thereafter, the state effects a statewide ban. But the local area, Brett provided some mapping that shows the fire danger category right here in central Mississippi. It's at the highest threat level that we classify as far as dry conditions and fire danger. So our area of the state is the most localized, but there are other areas of the state where it wouldn't be appropriate for there to be a statewide ban.
Yeah.
It's just in a localized area.
All right, so 30 days for burn bans, what's your
Well,
request?
now, if we start having rain, they're gonna keep it that way?
All right, so if we start having rain, obviously
Right.
we can't predict the weather much
Right.
further out. But if we start having rain, all we got to do is simple, come back to y'all, say, hey, I want to lift the ban.
Yeah.
We can lift it. Y'all vote on it. And I'll send the paperwork in. That's not a problem.
Okay.
But the ban will cover. And just for y'all's information, any contractor's work that we got going on right now, it will stop that. They can still pile it up, have it ready to go for as soon as we lift that burn ban. They can light it off and we're good. We actually did have a fire in Pearl that was a house fire that was caused by contractors burning.
Yeah. So they're talking rain, like I said, Thursday, and then it's, looks like the latter part of next week, some chances too, so that's
Right.
the reason I was asking.
All right, the board wish to entertain a motion on action of his burn ban.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Bishop, second by myself. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed with a light sign, so item B passes. Thank you, Mr.
Hey,
Ishii.
Can I ask him one? I told word there is a fire truck. Alvin Willie bought the fire truck. He don't want anything but the truck and chassis. If you know, and they don't have to be in Rankin County, we'd rather he'll give it to him.
Okay.
And it's fully working, all that. He just bought the truck for the truck and chassis.
Okay.
Just
So
keep
basically,
that-
he wants to give away the pump and,
Yep.
and tank. Okay. All right.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ishii. I'm gonna do two things real quick. Entertain a motion to approve old business and minutes approval under item
So
4.
moved.
Motion by Mr. Morrison. Second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with a light sign. Item 5, consent agenda.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Calhoun, second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign. Ms. Caroline, I'm gonna put you on pause for 1 second. I'm gonna kind of change some agenda stuff around. I know we got a large audience outside regarding one of our public hearings, and I don't want them just to hang out until we get to that spot. You never know when we run into a rain delay on some of these items. So, Mr. Slade, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna jump ahead
Yes, sir.
to item L under public hearings, under your section. And Ms. Denny, if you would bring anybody outside that wants to be involved
That's a
in
running
item L. Good, bring them in. And we'll let them get in, Mr. Slade, but we'll jump ahead to that. Ms. Renee, sorry about that, I'm jumping ahead on you. So I'm gonna go straight to item L, and then we'll come back and pick up with Ms. Gilbert. So, sorry, Caroline. Give us one 1 second, Mr. Slade. Let's be sure we get everybody in. Janice, is that everyone inside?
Yes, sir. That is everyone from U-Haul.
All right, wonderful. So we'll go ahead and begin that public hearing. Mr. Slade, under item L, if you would get us started off.
Gladly. The background information is as follows. This is a public hearing on the Americo Real Estate Conditional Use Permit application. Americo Real Estate Company is seeking a conditional use permit for a climate-controlled storage facility with U-Haul truck and trailer rental on Spillway Road and Hugh Ward Boulevard. They are proposing a 3-story building that contains 90,089 square feet and a warehouse building that will contain 25,013 square feet. The warehouse will front on Hugh Ward Boulevard. Americo is proposing a stucco embossed metal paneling facade with brick trim on both buildings. The parking lot surface will be concrete. The site plan shows 21 parking spaces along Spillway Road for the U-Haul truck rentals and an open storage area for trailers and trucks south of the 3-story building. It also shows a 20-foot buffer yard and screen along the south property line that borders the villas. Just a second. Property is 10,900. That doesn't sound right. 10,906.
It's 10.9.
That's not a comma. That's a period. That's a point. 10.906 acres. It's zone C2. Currently zone C2. The hearing notice was published in the paper and the property was posted. We received 21 calls and emails in opposition to this conditional use application.
Janice.
This time, we will ask for the applicant, representatives of Americo Real Estate Company to come forward and to explain to the board the justification for the conditional use application and a discussion, if any, that they wish to make
Yeah,
about it.
Mr. Slade, while they're doing that, also, while you guys are here, they've provided some renderings of what it's gonna look like and everything else. I just wanna pass that through the crowd so y'all can see that. You don't have to read the details to it necessarily unless you want to, but it shows you pictures of what's there, so I'm just gonna leave that with you guys so y'all can see what it's there. So, Mr. Slade, who were you asking up first?
Representatives of the applicant can come forward
Okay.
and to explain or to provide the justification
Sure.
for the request.
Okay. All right, good morning. Guys, just for the record, if you would, just introduce yourselves again.
My name is Brett Hogan. I'm an Area District Vice President for U-Haul International. Thank you all for being here today and see where this goes. First thing, I'd like to make sure everybody understands that this is written under Americo, but Americo, we are U-Haul. Americo's U-Haul. We've worked closely with the HOA and the neighbors behind us. We've worked with the supervisory board. I think he hit it pretty close on what we're proposing to build. One of the things I would like to mention is U-Haul's been around for 77 years. I've been with us 30 years. I haven't seen us sell a building yet, to where you'll find some businesses come in, they want to build, they want to invest. Once they make their investment, they can get their capital return, they sell, they're gone. Over a period of time, you'll see those businesses start to degrade in the quality of the way their buildings are maintained. I think we've done a great job on our rendering drawings. Again, we worked with the neighborhood. We've been out knocking doors. Charles has worked real hard working with that community, and I think we can make this work.
Okay.
Any thoughts or questions from the supervisory board?
What community is this going to butt up to?
Yeah, so it's going to back up to, well, it's going to kind of touch several of them in fragments. The main one is directly behind them is the villas. They did write a letter from their HOA board in support of the U-Haul place coming there. The villas
Yes, sir.
did. But then I've also, not to get ahead of myself, but there's also been several other HOAs voting against it. Or
They
their
join the
boards,
property
yeah.
or
Well, they're
boards?
not, don't necessarily join it or touch it, but are in the neighboring area, right within a few miles of the location of it there on Spillway Road. That's written letters in opposition of it, HOAs. So I've got 4 of those in opposition of it on the
Okay.
same side, so.
A couple of things that I've seen across that come across this weekend that kind of concerns me is some of the social media posts that are out there.
Yeah.
It's like they don't have a full understanding of what our plan is. There was some verbiage that was written that's not even in the site plan that we presented to y'all, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
Well, you know as well as I
that's
do, a lot of
concerning.
stuff on social media,
So-
it isn't always the most accurate thing, but
Absolutely.
it does generate a lot of conversation on the same side. And
Yes.
one thing, just for clarity for everybody that's in the room so they understand, this property is zoned commercial already. So it's a C2 zoning that's there now, that Mr. Primo's owns. The reason we're here with the U-Haul people is because they're asking for a conditional use because U-Haul facilities or storage rental places are not allowed in a C2 zoning area, right? So what they're here doing is asking for permission to go to move this location or build this building on a C2 site, a commercial building site that's not properly zoned for it, right? So that's why we're here having the hearing. If in our ordinance, a U-Haul facility or a storage facility was allowed under C2, then they wouldn't even be here having this discussion. They would be able to just go right ahead and build it. C2 zoning does allow, and Ms. Renee, correct me on that side, is shopping centers, fire off a few things that allowed in C2 that we don't have any really say over other than what our regulations state. So currently under a C2, it would allow what?
Well, C2 is a retail area where things are found on the inside of buildings. You could have, professional offices. You could have like a dollar store, things like that, outright.
Right, they can go in that location.
That's right.
So one of the things that happens, and for everybody that's here, I want to kind of make this clear. And I tried to put this on some of the social media stuff Sunday night to try to explain some of it. When they come in and ask for a conditional use, what this allows us to do is work real closely with the person coming in to ask for additional things that might benefit the community. Lighting, parking, outside things, barriers between the crew, barriers between neighborhoods that are around it and all. And to be sure, aesthetically, it looks really, really good, right? So that's kind of one of the things that we have. Under the C2 side, if a building was coming in to be proposed that was going to fall in this C2 side, the county would just have its normal building regulations and ordinances that would go in place, and we wouldn't be able to have that type of flexibility to ask the builder or developer more things to be sure that they were more pleasing to the community side of it. So I just want to make everybody understand that same point. That's kind of why we're here. That's what's got us to this point. So go ahead.
Daniel, I think the only thing that I would encourage everybody to think about too is within the current C2 zoning, if you're concerned about the building height, within the current C2 zoning, you can still go the max 35 feet.
That's correct.
That's in the C2 coding.
That's correct.
So,
Yep.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you guys for coming up,
Thank
and I
you.
appreciate y'all being transparent and showing everybody exactly what you're trying to do there.
Absolutely, thank you.
Mr. President, I know we have a number of individuals who are here that intend to address the board, I believe in opposition, although some may be in favor. So at this time, we would ask if there is anyone else here to speak in favor of the application that has been made and presented to the board. Is there anyone else to speak in favor? Yes, if you'll please come forward, state your name and address.
My name is Louis Floyd. I'm president of the HOA of the Villas. We met with these folks. We've studied the covenants that currently exist in Rankin County, and our choice would be to let this go up, because our other choice would probably be a strip mall, and the back of that strip mall with their trash bins and their trucks backing up would be what backs up to our neighborhood instead of the green zone that they've agreed to put in for us. They've also agreed that their lights would be facing away from the back of our condos so that they've been very cooperative. You know, would we prefer just to have the vacant lot forever? Sure, but that's not gonna happen. Right. And that's why. And I believe we're actually the only association and the only people that are gonna live behind us. And I think our concern should be primary, even though the others, Rankin County members, they're gonna be just driving by it for the most part. Sure. They're not gonna be looking at it like we're gonna look at it every night. So, any questions for me?
I don't. I appreciate you coming out. And thank you for your time.
Nice to see you in person.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good to see you. I know we spoke several times on the phone. It's good to see you. Yes, sir. Good morning. If you would just introduce yourself, your name, your address.
Yes, my name is Robert Haller. I live at 1003 Garrett's Landing in the Villas. And I'm here today just to speak in support of this property development. Initially, when I heard about it, I was actually against it because I thought, wow, what a bad thing for the villas. And so we met with the people from Marico. They sat down with us, explained it in detail, along with Mr. Primo, and actually gave us some, I wouldn't call it concessions, but agreed to do some things that would help it. We are the only HOA whose property is contiguous to that property. So I think we would be the most affected. And we've had a number of our people that expressed concern about it. When we sat down with them and showed them the plans, explained exactly what was going to be done, they were fine with it. So our people have not gotten on social media. And as you say, on social media, a lot of stuff is fake news. But we had the real information because we sat down with them for probably over an hour to discuss the details of it, and we were fine with it, and we are fine with it. So we speak, I think, not only for myself individually, but for the HOA board who voted unanimously to support it, as well as the people who live in the villas, of which there are probably 140 or more. Sure. So, thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Any questions for me?
We don't. No
Okay,
questions.
thanks.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Anyone? Mr. President, we'll move to those who wish to speak that would be in opposition to the application as presented. So we'll open the floor at this time. I would ask that, that we try as best we can. If you hear a comment that you wish to make having been made by the speaker before you, there's no need for you to come make the same comment again. We'll try to shorten this as much as we can. So, but if anybody has anything that they want to mention to the board and it hasn't already been mentioned, please feel free to come forward. I'll need a name and address as you approach the board.
At the corner, so just right there. I got you. Hey, one thing I'm going to ask also, I know, come on up, you're good while you're coming. If you do want to speak in opposition of it and you agree with what another person has said ahead of you, if you would come up and just put your name and all on the record, and you can just say I echo the thoughts or add anything else you want to. That way we have it on the record that you guys were here. So good morning, sir, if you would.
Good morning, I'm Rob Turner, 504 Sweetwater Commons. I live in Bridgetown.
Yes, sir.
We've lived there for about 20 years. We've seen this area kind of develop into sort of a resort downtown area for the reservoir. And it's been somewhat scattershot. Obviously, it started out in the 80s with the development that's right across from this proposed development. And then we've seen, over the past 20 years, a lot of growth. When I saw the sign, reached out to the office and tried to get some information about this, I was a bit taken aback by the fact that it was going to be a U-Haul storage facility. Obviously, it's going to be a large landmark building. One thing to note, I am an architect, so I have a biased opinion when it comes to how things look and just the impact of landmark buildings. The notion, too, of there being U-Haul trucks fronting the property, I think that's written in the statement. It just doesn't seem like it's going to help our property values. As an architect, I served as the HOA president for Bridgetown for 7 years. It's important to think about architecturally how this is going to impact property values. I do ask you as a board to consider the entire area. I realize the Villas is a great quadruplex development adjacent to this proposed entity. But Bridgetown is not far away. You've got churches as well. We have an awful lot of storage facilities in this area. Living in the county is great because obviously we're not in a municipality and there's not quite as many rules and regulations, and it is what it is. But we are in a distinct resort area there on that corner. Old Fannin Road and Spillway is a unique, I'd almost call it a little downtown area. And this just does not seem to be the best use for this property architecturally. I'm not saying that it couldn't be beautiful. I am an architect. I know that materials and landscaping and design play an awful big impact. But you cannot deny the fact that it is going to be a U-Haul facility. It's going to be something that is going to bring a lot of traffic into that area. We have, in terms of just traffic flow up and down Spillway, it's unbelievable how much it's grown over the past 20 years. And you're going to have people coming in and out of this facility to rent trucks and to put their stuff, and it just doesn't seem like the best use for this growing commercial area. I realize that you want to develop it. I realize the tax revenue would be great. I realize a lot of things. But if anything, before you make the decision, perhaps we could have a hearing where these people give us an opportunity to see more about these drawings, see more about the landscape and architectural design. Maybe the trucks would be put on the back of the development and not on the front. You know, things that are a little bit more sensitive to the area itself.
And I'll add one thing to you. I've spoken to the guys that's going to run it on the same point. There won't be any trucks up front. They've already made that agreement that any type of trailers or trucks that were there would be in the back rear of the area, where it's not publicized on the front that, hey, there's trailers or trucks in the front parking area. So,
well, that was written, I think, in the document that I obtained from y'all's office. It said they were going to be right at the front of Spillway.
So I've had a discussion with them on that front side of it, that we wouldn't park any things on the front, that any kind of trucks or trailers that they would be renting would be in the back, not visible from Spillway Road. So, but that's another discussion we had with those guys. So, but look, thank you for your comments.
Thank you so much. And by the way, thank you for our roads. Bridgetown was recently repaved.
Yeah, thank that guy. I don't think Harrison's here anymore, is he? He gone? Our road manager and them took care of that. Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other comments from those who would be in opposition? Please come forward, name and address. Thank you.
Sure.
Hello, Nick Newcomb, 1197 Old Fannin Road is a business I just bought in December. And full transparency, it's another self-storage business. It was formerly Strong Point Self-Storage. We've now rebranded it to Storage Max. And one of the items to get a conditional use granted correct is public need has to be proven. And I don't know what they've given to you to prove that, but we are just above 50% occupancy of that facility and really have enough supply on hand to feed the market for another 3 to potentially 4 more years. So I don't think there is a public need. We have 3 other facilities within a 5-mile ring that are between 73%, 76%, so a public need would be pretty hard to be proven. Does Rankin County have an architectural review board?
We do.
Okay, so if a shopping center were to come be built there, it would have to go in front of an architectural review board, correct?
Ms. Renee? Yes.
So you would get feedback on what it looks like? Okay, okay, good. So an office building could come in there and build 35 feet tall, but I think that would bring more jobs than a storage facility or U-Haul would, which would be better for the community. Also, we've built 3 multi-story facilities. No county or city has allowed us to put exterior metal panels on a building, whether it is stucco embossed, because it still looks like a metal panel. None of them have allowed us to have drive-up storage on the building because there's unloading and loading going on outside, where the exterior of these buildings advertise drive-up storage on the wall. I don't think that's a fit for the community. Any questions for me?
I don't. We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to correct one thing that Mr. Newcomb said. He may be confusing a rezoning request with a conditional use request. If this was a rezoning request, which it's not, there would be a requirement for the applicant to show a demonstrated public need for the rezoning request. That is not required as a conditional use application. The property is already zoned C2. So the issue before this board is, will we allow what would otherwise be an outright allowed use that has elements of the way that it conducts its business that are not allowed in that zone, right?
Sure.
So U-Haul has a potential for some sort of outside the building display and potentially outside the building storage. And so in order for it to be located in C2 without having to go through a rezoning, they have to go through the conditional use process. So this literally, I don't want anybody to be under the misimpression that there is a requirement of a demonstration of public need. It's already, the public need's already been shown by virtue of the way that this board zoned that property as C2, okay?
Well, and I want to add one thing that this board didn't zone C2. It was done in the zoning process around 2007. Right, 04, okay.
04.
I was thinking 07 in my head. Maybe I got them mixed up, but this board didn't zone it C2.
That's correct.
Right, perfect.
Yes, sir. All right, so next individual that wishes to speak, if there's not been something covered, please step forward. Thank you.
Hi, I'm May Lowe. I live at 115 Deer Hollow in Deer Park, which butts up against Hugh Ward. I agree with everything everybody said. The reservoir area is saturated with storage units. I mean, I imagine most of them aren't full. The thing I'm worried about is the damage to Hugh Ward. I pay extra taxes to care for Hugh Ward. I mean, it's already enough traffic on Hugh Ward, but all the big trucks going up and down Hugh Ward probably will do damage, and that's one of my concerns. I don't want my taxes to be raised for caring for damage that their trucks are causing.
Okay. Thank you. Anyway, I'll get it. So you got to keep going back and forth. We're gonna wear you down. Anybody else in opposition wants to come up and? Yes, sir. Come on. Trying to save you a few steps from walking back and forth, Mr. Slay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sure he appreciates that too.
It does. How are you? Good morning.
I'm good. Good morning. I'm Gene Pandolfi. I live at 209 Avery Court, Ridgetown subdivision. I do have a letter from our board of directors I do want to submit to you guys, asking you guys to deny the request.
Yeah, if you just hand to Ms. Lawrence right there. I've gotten their email also on the same thing, so I'll forward
But within that is some photographs of the general area that I want you guys to see, in case, for those of you who are not familiar with the reservoir area along Spillway Road. Just some photographs of the villas, some surrounding businesses and that sort of thing. So I do want to speak to you honestly, just from the standpoint of the zoning. The point has been made a couple of times here that the property is already zoned C2. We know that it's not an allowed use in C2. We know it's allowed use in C3. So with that, when the land use plan was adopted by the county and the zoning ordinance, it was specifically set up in those documents that this area be zoned C2. The reason for that was looking ahead for future growth was to limit the types of businesses that would be allowed there. And part of that, the idea of just zoning that C2 and having a land use plan set up as C2 was to not allow more aggressive, more commercialized, more industrialized type businesses within that district, which are allowed in C3. So to approve this request actually undermines the land use plan that you guys have already established. I say you guys, the county, right? On the land use plan and the zoning map. So that's what I want you guys to really kind of understand from my standpoint. To continue to do this is just going to degrade over time the C2 zoning, right, that's already permitted in that area. So from that perspective, I would ask you guys to deny this request simply on a zoning and land use perspective.
Okay.
So let's see. I did make some phone calls to some of the other storage facilities, and as the gentleman before me mentioned, there's plenty of storage available in the area. It's not really a need for it. I know public need is not supposed to be a requirement here because it's not a rezoning, but simple fact is there is other storage available. One other thing I want to point out, our sister municipalities, Flowood, Ridgeland, Jackson, all require industrial zoning for climate control storage. Industrial, not C2, not C3, but industrial. I did make some inquiries and asked, what would be the chances of me putting, I just acted like a potential developer, what would be the chances of me actually getting a conditional use or zoning for climate control storage in these municipalities? And the long and short answer both was not a chance. So I want you guys to see where I'm coming from the zoning and land use perspective. This is not a fit in that perspective. And I wouldn't want to see us try to force fit something just from the standpoint of aesthetics.
Sure. Thank you. Would you spell your last name for us?
Yeah, sure. Pandolfi.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Yep.
Anyone else in opposition wish to come up and speak? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
My name is Rod Crosby, Susan Burton Real Estate. I have been a realtor out off of Spillway and lived out there since 1979. We do feel we have a resort area out there. We are growing, and we feel this is an eyesore. We are opposed to it because we feel like that location, very good location, is the corner of Main and Main with Hugh Ward and Spillway. And we would like to see something better than another storage building, as everybody has mentioned. Sure. They're everywhere out here.
All right. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Anyone else in opposition? I don't see anyone else. I'm just kidding, Miss Janine. How you doing? Good morning.
How y'all doing?
Good. Good morning.
I haven't bothered y'all in a long time now.
Well,
Thank you.
On behalf of Keep the Reservoir Beautiful, I'm the executive director. We're 10 years.
this is Janine May, by the way.
Janine May, Rankin County resident. Family grew up here. I'm back home in Rankin County and I love it. On behalf of Keep the Reservoir Beautiful, we are taught to have more green space in an area for children to recreate in, for people to ride their bikes by and sit and visit. This is a prime piece of property that has been beautiful for a long time. And we know there's another adjoining piece of property across from Hugh Road. I agree with everything everybody has said before me right now in opposing this. And in the future, the gentleman that just spoke, I would love to sit down and talk to him more. Ronnie and I don't plan on leaving for a while. I hope we, I hope we leave our home in Forest Point and go straight to heaven once that's, approved of by whoever up above, hopefully. But Keep America Beautiful teaches us to reduce blight. And we have a lot of blight in that area. We have over 10,000 cars that drive by the Turtle Point nature area that we created in that area. And I spend a lot of time in my backyard. Reservoir One, they are really good to us with Keep the Reservoir Beautiful in the Botanic Gardens and our other places. They make more fire calls wrecks included than any other fire station in Rankin County. Chief Berry's a good friend of ours. It's constantly going in that direction. We've had people killed up there, going across from Polk's Drugs to Kroger last year. It's dangerous, and I don't think there's a plan for y'all to 6-lane it anytime soon. But on behalf of Keep the Reservoir Beautiful, I'd like to challenge the supervisors to think about more green space in that area. Now, Pearl River Valley has their property too. But this is a prime area for the people on Hugh Ward. We have more people jogging, we have more people recreating. Children are constantly with their parents or walking across at that traffic light right there, going across from Revel Ace over to Hugh Ward. It's very dangerous. So considering the future, maybe the county, maybe there's some infrastructure money we don't know about. Look at some extra green space in there for our families, our grandchildren, and I hope, you know, our grandchild inherits our property one day. I hope she wants it. So thank y'all for what you do already. And then on behalf of Forest Point, Rod lives in our neighborhood. We disagree with this. It's going to create, I don't care if it's 20 years down the road, there's going to be blight there. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you, Ms. Janine. Good to see you. Anyone else in opposition wish to come up and introduce himself to the board, name and record or anything? Yes, sir. Good morning.
My name is Martin Parkinson. I live in Regatta, 150 Regatta Drive. We are impacted by some of the buildings that are around us. We had a noise situation not too long. You helped us out a lot with that. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to reiterate, I agree with the industrial park idea. That's not where we want to have an industrial park. We want a resort area. We want it, we do want it impact free from everybody, you know. When we say we oppose the U-Haul thing, the next thing you hear is, well, do you want a strip mall there? Well, strip mall's not all that bad, but it's not, you know, that's not the only thing that can go in there. You know, you've helped us out with an old strip mall that's having some problems. We're gonna get that straight. That's gonna be good. Thank you very much on that.
Yes, sir.
But some of the other concerns that I had about, the noise and the industrial park things are already been addressed in the C2. But I just wanted to bring that up, that we are impacted in Regatta too. Just like, you can be fooled by some of the proposals, say, well, see how great this is. That's the only way they're going to propose it, is how nice it is. We've got a nursing home that backs up to our neighborhood that has a light that's probably 40 feet in the air, and it's as bright as the sun. They shine it all night long, and nobody has privacy at night. You can't even walk out the backyard and see. But, who would have thought? Who would have thought that a light had to be that bright in a nursing home? So anyway, I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you for coming up. Anyone else on the record wants to speak in opposition in the audience? Anyone else?
Yes, I will.
Okay, come on. Hey, that's all right.
My name is Sherry Davis. I live on 208 Avery Court in Brandon.
Okay. Good morning.
I think about I've been out at the reservoir for about 30 years, and I think about what it looked like, what we look forward to for the reservoir area. And we watched the growth, and we watched the neighborhoods, and we know where I counted. I drove around yesterday. There were 12 different storage units that I've seen, and I know that they're not full. I don't think it's a time and place, and I just believe that we want to hold on to something. You've seen neighborhoods crumble when businesses step in, but that reservoir has been such a jewel. I remember, I'm a nurse, been a nurse for years, and people would say, oh, you live at the reservoir. And I said, anybody can live with the reservoir. It has been, it's in the Jackson and the Brandon area, it's that special place. And I believe that once we start, I'm not opposed to liquor, but I think we got stabbed a couple times. Liquor stores are everywhere. And I just believe that every time we do that, we're stepping down. We're that jewel that we have is suddenly beginning it's just not as bright. And I believe that this is one more step. If we do this and pull this in, it will change the face of the reservoir that we're trying so hard to protect. Because we don't have giant neighborhoods like we do at the reservoir that we're proud of, that we can boast and we can be really, really thankful for. So that's just it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming up. Anyone else to speak in opposition for the record? Anyone else speak in opposition for the record? Anyone else in the room want to speak opposed or for? Mr. Primos, come up.
Thank you, Mr. Cross.
Yes, sir.
I'm Houston Primos, landowner. Our family owns it. One of my partners, Wirt Yerger, owns it. We've been a pioneer out in this area for a long time. Helped develop a lot in Flowwood, all that this way. Everything follows sewage. We're the ones that brought the sewage from Flowwood to this whole area. Otherwise, you had to have the reservoir. That's where the old Osier place to our east, Mark Jerd developed it, and he gave the land to the reservoir just so we could get their sewage. We've tried to be a good steward to the county. I'm just, I almost didn't want to come to this. I already heard the opposition was like, no. But, I had a fairness to the U-Haul guys that flew in last night. And the people that's really got the biggest dog in this hunt, they live by it. You got to weigh out, what's best for these people. I mean, they're the most affected by what's going on there. If there's a big strip center that comes along, there's going to be a whole lot more traffic. I mean, it would be good, but it wouldn't be good for them. I mean, I'm hearing already that the bank is closing up because they can't take care of their customers. The traffic is so bad right there. They're shutting down. I don't see U-Haul tearing up the roads. I pay $30,000 a year too for taxes out there. There are a lot of people here that, I'm sure there's something else could go there nicer, but, if they're willing to spend $15 million on a project, we sold the land to Strong Point. Everybody, there are a lot of people here that rent from them. They like it. There was no opposition. If somebody got on social media, they probably would have shut them down too. I mean, this was a last minute derailment when I thought everybody was good with it. That's why U-Haul has been very transparent. They want everybody to see what they're doing. They don't have the big lights that's going to shine in people's windows. They're there to be a neighbor for the whole neighborhood, and for everybody to be against it, not knowing the whole side of the story, what it's going to look like architecturally. If they don't like the colors, they're here to change it.
Sure.
They want to work with everybody. So, like I said, we've worked with the county. They've asked us. We had the land across from the apartments on Avalon. The county said, "Would y'all mind?" They don't want apartments in there. Apartments sell real good. Everybody's looking for apartment land, but we tried to be good stewards of the land, and the neighbors, the Villas Regatta, to take it out, and we did. The county wanted a water tower site. We gave them a site. I mean, I'm just asking y'all to, if y'all want more information for them, if it needs to be tabled, or whatever they need, they're here to try to work with them. I think it's, there's some people that probably don't want the competition, but they're not scared of it. I mean, it's what made America great. We all want competition. It's good for everybody. So I'm just asking y'all to don't throw the people that got to live by it under the bus for a handful of people that really don't want it. I'd like to have a dog park out there too. If the county wants to buy it, that's fine with me. Make everybody happy. But I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Primos. And I do want to say one thing, just kind of echoing the words there, Mr. Primos and the guys from U-Haul. You guys have been up front the entire time, very transparent and very professional in the entire process going through on this. And I do appreciate your hospitality on that same point of entertaining the ideas of people that are there and doing your best to try to make it work. Anyone else? Yes, sir. I'll let you speak one more time. Yes, sir.
One of the things that we've worked hard for, and it's come around several times today, and I just can't leave this room without making sure I do my due diligence.
Yes, sir.
Everybody said we've been transparent, and we absolutely have. And that's the way I work, that's the way I function. One thing I'm concerned with, and I'm kind of agreeing with Mr. Primos, and somebody else mentioned it too, is when the verbiage come up on the trucks on the front line, I'm concerned that that's inaccurate. My understanding from the last time we met with the supervisory board is we would agree on a certain amount of equipment on the front line. So I want to make sure that that's transparent. And I want to also, I'm kind of with Mr. Primos, maybe we need to have a workshop on this and gather some other people around. I think there's some that felt like they were derailed and didn't understand. The other comment I'd like to make too on the lighting is a lot of time when you're lighting, that's not even driven by the city or the business owner. That can be driven by the city or the county. It's not as much driven by the business owner. I've bought multiple Kmart's, and the first thing I do is if it backs up to residential, we take the lights out. The only reason the lights are there is because the city or the county or the IBC code or whatever code is by requires them. So I just want to be transparent with everybody. So if it needs to be tabled in a workshop, I'm in for that too.
I want to say one thing, just, for everybody to know, these trucks aren't any bigger than UPS trucks. It's not like they're
18-wheelers or anything.
They're nothing like that. They're no bigger and probably don't even weigh, well, they don't weigh any more than a UPS truck. So I just want you to understand these are not massive trucks and putting a lot of wear on the roads.
Mr. Morrison, it's your Amazon truck that's delivering product to my wife this afternoon. That's one way to put it in perspective. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your comments. Anything else in regards to the hearing? Opposed or for? Allow you to speak. One thing I want to say, Mr. Slay, on the record on the same side of that, I know Ms. Renee's office has had numerous emails about how many have you gotten in opposition?
21.
Okay, and I've probably gotten 75 on that same point of it, along with several. I've got 4 HOAs that are against it in the area, and I'll forward those over to you just for our file to be able to put those into it. Mr. Slay, anything else on the hearing before we take action?
Just for house cleaning purposes, if anyone has materials or documents that they wish to be a part of the record of this proceeding, they need to present those documents here in front of Ms. Renee Lawrence, our Community Development Director. Just place them right here on the table, and so that the record can be complete as it relates to all documents that the board had before it for consideration purposes. Unless there are any other comments that need to be made.
One thing else I wanted to do, Mr. Slay, also is if anybody on the board wants to ask questions to people that are here, that I want to be sure I get everybody a chance to speak or say whatever they want to say. Brad, Jerry.
I just don't think
I have a thought.
Go ahead, Steve.
It's come up several times, a place for these people that live out there to walk their dogs, and we have been aggressively looking for a dog place to put our shelter. Would that be something that would be that y'all could work with? I mean, if Mr. Primos said, I'll sell you the land, and the county has animal shelter. What do y'all think? No, yes, no. I'm seeing heads, no.
Plans, if it's gonna be for green space, like I discussed with people walking and animals or whatever, it's just anything besides a 3-story building there. I mean, even though Mr. Primos, I've read articles about your family that's in the Northside Sun magazine, and the land, 50 acres that you grew up on, your picture's in there when you were 5 years old. I think the reservoir people works with these other garden clubs.
Yeah.
Everything everybody said is true. I mean, I really feel like this property, this needs to go out on Lakeland Drive, somewhere in an industrial area, but consider the green space. We have so many young children in Forest Point right now. Our homes, the values are going up. Grandchildren, my grandchild lives in Florence in the Highlands, and she wants to inherit our house one day, and she's 7 years old. Nani, don't give up this house on the water. So we need that if we're gonna remain a good, livable community is what we want. It's never land, you know that.
Right.
We will never be a town, so.
Right.
Anything like that, I hope this company, can find a place to put this in the right perspective.
Yep.
But please consider our quality of life.
Well, thank you, Ms. May.
Hey,
Brad?
with the, y'all wanting to keep it a green space, I mean, would the HOA to consider on purchasing this property?
Our little HOAs on the south side don't have the money. We're voluntary in Forest Point.
Sure.
But we recently helped the county with some federal money.
Sure.
On water quality renee with the building inspector. We just spent a lot of that federal money, but I will say on behalf of my board, and they may fire me, which they can because I'm a volunteer, and Rob Turner is a new board member on Keep the Reds Beautiful. I'm looking for younger blood, and I'm getting it. But, you know, there are ways we could work together. I mean, we put in Turtle Point Nature Area, which is PRB property, on the water, and we put about $25,000 or $30,000 into the Reservoir Botanical Garden started 50 years ago.
Do they not want anything on it?
So we've got other groups, garden clubs and all, that would work with you. It's just a better quality of life is what.
Yeah. Thank you, Ms. May. Anyone else? Jay? Anything good? All right, Mr. Slay, if you would wrap it up, and then we will, the board will take action
So
at that point.
with no further comments being presented, we will close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate for the board to move into consideration. There are a number of ways that the board can consider it. Let me walk you through what the requirements are for granting a conditional use permit. Any person that desires a conditional use submits a written application. That's been done. Indicate, the conditions under which they are seeking the application, and that has been done. And the board has a number of considerations that it must take before it can grant the application. The first consideration is there appropriate ingress and egress to the property and the proposed structures? I believe that's been satisfied. Off-street parking and loading areas, that's not in play here. It's all contained on the site. Refuse and service areas has to be considered. I believe that's reflected on the site plan. Utilities, availability and compatibility, that appears to be appropriate and addressed. Screening and buffering, we've talked about that. That would be one of the issues that the board wants to satisfy itself about if it chooses to move forward. The requirement for setbacks and that type of thing. And then this is, I think, the biggie, the general compatibility with adjacent properties and other properties within the district. And so that's what this has really been about today, is a compatibility issue. And I think that's what most of the commentary has suggested, is that it's a use that would not be compatible to the immediately surrounding and adjoining properties. You've heard from the most impacted adjacent property, which is the villas, and they've indicated support for the application. But there are other considerations that the board can also undertake, which is properties that may not necessarily be contiguous but are in the area. That's an appropriate inquiry that the board can make. So really what it comes down to for the board is a determination as to whether or not the proposed use affects compatibility with areas that are adjacent and in the area. That's what the board has to choose today and make its judgment call on. So if the board is prepared to move forward with whether or not it intends to grant the conditional use, then we can move to a discussion of conditional uses. The board also can, of its own motion, decide that it wishes to delay action today, and it can take the matter up at the next available opportunity.
All right, thank you, Mr. Slay. This public hearing is closed as well. I'm going to make a motion here on the start side, but I want to make the motion, but I want to bring it up this way on the same point. If there needs to be further discussion or further applications in the future, by all means, that can happen. But I'm going to make a motion right now to deny the request for adopting and allowing this conditional use to happen. So I'll make that motion.
Second.
All right, so second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion?
I'm going to support you. I hesitate to, but I will support you and these people. I do not live at the reservoir. I don't represent that area. I also have land, and I can't understand how somebody, a neighbor, can say, we don't want you to do anything with your land, because most of the time that's an investment. And then maybe even a retirement, just like your house. And in lieu of saying, let's work together and do something we all like, to say, I don't want you to do anything. But I am voting with Daniel,
Yeah, and my comments on this is just the compatibility view or our opinion of what falls into that spot being the right thing, because it is zoned commercial, and I do believe there's gonna be,
It's gonna
there's gonna
It's
be a
gonna be
commercial,
something
there's gonna
there.
be a commercial building placed in that spot, because that's the property owners that are there, that's zoned for that. In order for that zoning to change, it'd have to be the owners to come back to us and say, hey, I'd like to change the property. So right now, it's zoned commercial, and there could be a 3-story strip mall come into that spot. But that's part of the, regulations that falls under the property Mr. Primo's owns.
Yes,
So.
Mr. Cross, if I could just add one
Yep.
fine point to that. If the current applicant were to revise the application so that there is no outside display or storage, this goes away. There is no conditional use hearing. We go immediately to architectural review. The reason we are here is that their
Outside
business
storage.
model provides that they will display outside of the building wares or goods or items. That's not allowed in C2 outright. It has to be allowed only through a conditional use. Okay?
So if he chooses not to do that, he could
could
build,
still-
we could approve it,
That-
and move forward.
In fact, what you would be then considering is simply an architectural review under your current C2 guidance. Let me I want to rephrase so everybody's clear about that. If the U-Haul folks came back and said, we will not have any outside storage of any kind. Everything we do is going to be inside the walls of the facility, everything. We are talking about architectural review and not a public hearing. Okay? So you guys are being asked to give a conditional use that would allow them to do the outside display that their business model works under. It's what we're used to, right? That's why we're here having this
So
discussion.
basically, we'll just be denying the conditional use.
That's exactly what you're doing. You're saying, as proposed, the application as proposed, we cannot agree with because it contains outside display and outside storage, which we do not believe to be compatible with the surrounding properties.
Okay.
That's what your decision is.
Okay?
That's what I heard. I'm sorry, I don't know that y'all voted
Yeah.
yet.
We haven't voted at this point,
Okay.
so, anything else? I can't
No,
right now,
we
we got a motion on the floor right now. But, hang on a second, we've got our motion running right now, so we've had to close that hearing, so. All right, so we're good. Anything else on the public comments from our guys? Anything else in discussion? All right, all in favor to deny the current request for, conditional use, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with light sign? So the matter's denied. Thank you, Mr. Slade. Thank you guys for coming out. And thank you for your time. All right, so I'm gonna move, I know Janice, I'm moving this, agenda around pretty good. I'm gonna come back to Miss Gilbert. Sorry to make you wait and slow down, so.
Craig.
All right, what you got, Caroline?
I'll give it a second, everybody to exit the room.
Well, that's really talk.
Yeah. Okay.
If I was them,
I would too. I would too. I'm going right back around.
All right, Ms. Gilbert, thank you for your patience. I appreciate it. If you can enter into item 6 on the agenda for Ms. Gilbert, item A.
All right, item A is authority to pay MACA membership dues in the amount of $1,000. This is also for conference registration.
Motion approved.
So motion to approve with Mr. Morrison. Second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign. Item B, Ms. Gilbert.
Tax receipts generated for PPIN 14480 for tax years 2017 through 2019 should be voided as the property matured to the state. These receipts should have never been generated, and the property should reflect exempt from tax receipts for the year 2020.
Okay.
The property did sell in 2021, and the current owner should be allowed to process their tax payment for this
Okay.
year.
Motion approved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Morrison.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the light sign, so item B passes. Item C, Ms. Gilbert.
Chargeback for PPIN 35005 does not belong to the current owner. We need to void the supplemental chargeback, and this also went through the tax sale, so we need to refund W Mortgage for the amount that was paid in the tax sale.
Okay. Board wish to entertain a motion for item C.
I'll make a motion.
So a
Second.
motion to approve item C by Mr. Calhoun, second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the light sign. Item D, Ms. Gilbert.
Chargeback for PPIN 19620 does not belong to the current owner and needs to be voided as well.
Okay.
Motion approved.
So motion approved by Mr. Calhoun, second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed to the light sign. Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. And again, thank you for your patience. Under item 7, I see Mr. Sullivan may not be here, but I would like to entertain a motion to wrap items A, B, and C as you see on your agenda
So moved.
for approval from Mr. Sullivan by Mr. Morrison.
Second.
Second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the light sign. Item 8, Mr. Harrison, good morning.
Morning, how are y'all?
Good. Hey, before you start in on these cable utility request permits,
Yes, sir.
can you recap us, and I probably should have gave you some heads up, I was going to ask you this, but could you recap us what happened over on Pulaski Shore Drive? If you're not familiar with it, we had a utility contractor bore through one of the water lines, and it's taken all the water. It drained 3 towers. So we didn't have water pressure for about 3 days over there, or 2 days, in the reservoir area in that Pulaski Shore, Pulaski Bay area. So if you can kind of get us up to speed on that, I kind of know I threw this on y'all. It's key.
That was AT&T project. Then they turned around, they've got a contractor they bid it to, and then they subbed it to somebody else. So third-hand cable replacement like we always deal with.
Yep.
They was doing in borderline that was marked. I mean, it's clearly marked a 10-inch line. We actually sent them home for today. Tomorrow will be their startup day back because they didn't send us the information where they hit the water line. They did call us, but they didn't follow up with the paperwork side of it.
All right, thank
So
you for
that's
that
kind
update.
of basically
But
what's
you're
happening.
following up on a permit that they did file, correct?
Yes, they had the permit, everything was legit. I mean, they had the permit, they had the 48-hour notice, but they didn't follow up with the notice that they hit the water line. They did call us verbally, we did know that, but, didn't follow up with the paperwork, so we shut them down till tomorrow.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Harrison. Go ahead with item A.
I'd like to take A and B together, Comcast, replacing cables, one's on Wesley Drive, and the other's gonna be on Spillway Road installed, around Bay Park area.
Yes, that's District 2.
That's all district.
Unless, I'm.
I don't know
I
why
can move it
it's
to District
District
4,
4,
but I can't. That's all right, so District 2.
Little typo there.
So motion to approve items A and B together.
So moved.
The motion, Mr. Morrison. Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign. So items A and B is approved. Item C, Mr. Harrison.
Request, CenterPoint Energy, to conduct a 2-inch gas line along Highway 471 between Mount Ham and Chestnut Hill, and that's also gonna be District 2.
No, it is.
Nice. I think it's me.
It is too.
It's
You're
just,
right.
I don't
Right on
know.
the
I don't know
side.
what's happened to her.
Yep.
She was
Paperwork here.
late seeing it
Under
last
item District
night.
number 2. So here we go. So
pressure off you and put it in another district.
All right.
thank you.
Motion.
All right. So motion to approve by Mr. Gaines. Second by
Who's
myself.
leaving?
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Any opposed with the light sign.
And that's
So
gonna
item
be
C
going
passes.
to that new subdivision up
Yep.
there, is what that's gonna be doing.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Harrison.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Mr. Parker, good morning.
Morning, Mr. President. The only item we have today is on Andrew Chapel Road, Reconstruction. We're recommending approval of payout number 5 for work performed through January 31st. We're recommending payment $358,211.98. Authority to issue the check, Site Masters, Inc.
How far we are from getting some asphalt now?
On the north end, when we met with them, it's been a week and a half ago, I guess we met with them. They were looking at sometime 2 to 3 weeks out, getting some asphalt on the north end. They have not committed to that yet, but their asphalt, they do their own asphalt, Site Masters does, and they're in the area, or we're gonna be in the area somewhere else, and we're gonna mow here. I don't know the schedule of where they were now, but it's they're wanting to cover up the north end also, to get that rock, and it's in, we think in really good shape.
We have an arrangement to meet first months of every month.
So the road's open and everything's, traffic can go through there
Well,
slow,
I mean,
but at times
There
it's.
could be a time during the day when they've got the road cut or something, that they're having to close a lane. But I think they're very sensitive now, and we're meeting.
Pretty rare.
Yeah, before they get paid, we meet again.
Good.
All right, so the board wishes to entertain a motion for item A.
I'll
for
make a
approval.
motion approved.
Motion to approve, Mr. Calhoun.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, the light signs. Item A passes. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Parker.
President.
Mr. Slay, I gave you a little break. Got you back up to the table at this point.
Looking around to see if my co-counsel's here to make sure I haven't made an error.
What, he's over your right shoulders, Mr. Word.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, he's
Thank you,
watching.
thank you.
I've got him watching.
Right.
Bishop.
Apparently I have two co-counsel
We've
today.
got one up here on the board and one back there in a Santa Claus outfit.
No, the other one left.
He left? Okay, so he's off the clock.
All right, so,
You get
Mr.
what you
Slay.
pay for, by the way. A, B, C, D.
Yes, sir.
If I may, Mr. President, motions to set hearings, these are March 3rd at 9 o'clock. And you can see those that are listed there in the districts that are represented.
All right, so motion to entertain items A, B, and C, and D, which is all for March 3rd.
Motion.
Motion to set those hearings with Mr.
Second.
Gaines, second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign. So item E, Mr. Slay.
Yeah, if I may, E, F, and G are also setting public hearings. Those would be for March 7, Mr. President, 9 a.m. I'd ask for one motion to set items E, F, and G.
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Board wish, we have a motion by Mr. Morrison to set the public hearings for E, F, and G.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign. So we move to item H, Mr.
Yes,
Slay,
sir.
for
Item
public
H is a public
hearings.
hearing. This will be a public hearing on the Regender Singh dimensional variance request at 2483 Star Road, District 3 property. We'll open that public hearing, Mr. President. Mr. Singh is proposing construction of a small grocery store with gas pumps at 2483 Star Road. He owns a 1-acre parcel, property zone C2. Thomasville Water Association office is currently located on this property. The store will contain 7,000 square feet of a retail area of, 7,000 total square feet. Retail area would be 4,160. He's proposing hardy board siding on the front and sides of the building. The area under the porch will look like a wood structure. Hardy board above the porch and on the sides will be painted red. Back of the building will be metal that's painted red. Mr. Singh is seeking a variance to reduce the number of parking spaces from the required 70 under our ordinance down to 49. The hearing notice was published in the paper and the property was posted. We've received one call inquiring about the hours of operation. Okay, so this is a dimensional variance request to reduce the number of parking spaces that would otherwise be required under your ordinance. We'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Regender Singh dimensional variance request. Is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the Singh dimensional variance request? Okay. Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. We'll close that public hearing. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action.
All right. Make a motion.
I'll make a motion approved.
Oh, my bad. Okay. I was thinking it was you, Jerry. I'm sorry. So motion by Mr. Calhoun to approve, second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with light sign.
He's across the road.
So item H passes.
Across the road, yeah.
Item I, Mr. Slay. Sorry about
That's a
that.
public hearing on our Rankin County initiated rezoning request.
That's right.
This will be for the property at 7674 Highway 25, District 2 property. We'll open that public hearing. The county is initiating a zoning change. This will go from RE1 to C2, and it's for a portion of the parcel K15-23-10. That's located on Highway 25. Property currently has 2 zoning classifications. The entire parcel is zoned, is the bifurcated zoning there. The front part of the property, or the property adjacent to 25, is currently C2. Rear portion is RE1. Adjoining property to the east and south are already zoned C2. Notice of the hearing was published in the paper and the property was posted, and no calls have been received. So this is simply to take care of the fact that there's a zoning that bifurcates or splits the property down the middle. the intended use for the property would be C2, and we need the entire property to be zone C2. This is in an area that doesn't have a lot of development around it at this point. And so, is there anyone here to speak in opposition to the county-initiated rezoning at 7674 Highway 25? Anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter?
We don't have any opposition. I'm Ronnie Angel with Denmore, we're the adjoining landowner. We don't have any opposition. We just kind of wanted to see what the plans were and what things
Gotcha.
are going to look like there.
Renee, do we have, I can't remember the gentleman's name. Mr. Densmore, that's correct. Okay. Hey, hang around, because what's coming up next is an explanation for what's going there.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Mike? All right, so I make a motion to approve the rezoning under item I, second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the like sign. Item J. Yeah.
Yeah, so Ms. Renee tried to telegraph to me that this was about to happen. She even put it in red. I didn't pay attention to it. So now that the board has voted to rezone the entire parcel to C2, the next consideration on the agenda can be undertaken, which is a public hearing on the James Denmore conditional use permit. Notice it's at the same address, 7674 Highway 25 in District 2. Mr. Densmore is seeking a conditional use permit to relocate his equipment trailer sales business from the corner of Highway 471 and Highway 43 to this location on Highway 25. He's proposing construction of a 4,800 square foot office space with shop. The building will be brick on the front and sides and run the entire length of the office area. The shop bays will have a metal exterior. Mr. Denmore is proposing a concrete parking area in front of the building, and he will install a concrete or asphalt drive out to the highway, out to Highway 25 within a year. He wants to see if he can be approved for the use before obtaining detailed drawings. The hearing notice was published in the paper and the property was posted. We didn't receive any calls in opposition, so we'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the conditional use request by Mr. Densmore or to inquire about additional details. So if you have questions or whatever, now's the time.
I'd just like to see the details if they're available.
I think Mr. Densmore is
I think she's,
provide those.
and Mr. Slay, Renee's got a picture.
Okay.
You can see if you'd like to look at it.
What's going on?
U-Haul, please.
Oh, I thought I was joking. Another U-Haul. Why not go and do it C3?
Now, this is,
More outside stuff here.
Well, I see 3 around outside. I see 3 around.
Okay.
Okay, they good? Y'all good? Okay.
Is there anyone else to speak in opposition on this matter? Anyone? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. At this time, we'll close that public hearing. Now it would be appropriate to either, to address it outright, to address conditions that may be necessary.
Mr. Gaines?
motion.
So motion by Mr. Gaines to approve. So will you add any
And-
kind of
well-
conditions you want to add to that motion?
The only thing
That you
that was
discussed?
not mentioned is we discussed a limited number of trailers
Display
or
items.
display items in the front. And the reason I'm saying a limited number, some are longer than others, so I hate to put an exact number, but somewhere around 6, and this place sits way off the road. I mean,
It's not visible.
the right of way is more than maybe 100 foot, and then there's trees, and then he's a little bit behind that. So it's not gonna be, an eyesore. I think it's gonna be fine. But he wants it nice, and I want it nice.
Okay.
And going as far as he's going with building an office type look to this building, brick cross front, down both sides, concrete for his parking, and I mean, he just going, everything I've asked, he said, yeah, we can do that.
Absolutely. Mr. Gaines, if I might
right.
suggest that we initiate a conditional, as a part of the conditional use, we place the condition that initially, with the permit, we will limit the outside display to 6 items.
That's in the front.
That's correct.
He's got 8 acres.
Yes, sir. So in front of the facility, that is between the facility and Highway 25, we'll have a display limitation of 6 items. The applicant can always come back later and ask the board to modify the conditions if it becomes clear that the limitation initially in place is burdensome or is not necessary, and he can demonstrate that, the board can always entertain more items.
Okay.
That make sense to you, Ms. Denmore? That way, we don't have to wonder what was done here, what was said here. There won't be any misunderstanding. We'll say 6 items is the limitation initially,
Okay.
and then the applicant can come back and ask for
All right, so
more or
Mr.
less.
Gaines, in your motion, is that what you want?
Yep.
All right, so that'll be in Mr. Gaines' motion, second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign, so item J passes. Item K, Mr. Slay.
Yes, sir. Item K is a public hearing on the Thomasville Water Association conditional use permit at 2492 Star Roads, District 3 property. Thomasville Water Association is seeking a conditional use permit to construct an elevated tank, a water well, and an office building. The proposed tank will be 160 feet in height. It'll have a volume of 150,000 gallons. The office building will contain 900 square feet. They are proposing a metal building for the office. The site plan shows a concrete drive, a handicap stall in front of the building. There's a gravel parking area near the road. The hearing notice was published in the paper and property was posted. We've not received any calls in opposition. This time I'll open that public hearing. I'll ask if there's anyone here to speak in opposition to the Thomasville Water Association conditional use permit. Anyone speak in opposition on that matter? Mr. President, I don't see anyone here to speak in opposition on that matter. At this time, it'd be appropriate to take action.
I'll make a motion to approve.
So motion to approve by Mr. Calhoun.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bishop. Any further discussion? All in favor?
That is now, District 1 area. Owned by the census.
Okay.
Or redistrict.
All right.
And that redistricting stuff's in play, right?
It went into place
January
1st,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
That's gonna figure out how to keep up with all
I
that.
tell
That's
you what.
exactly right.
I'm gonna have to start proofing some of these things, I think, before we let them out.
Not
Yeah.
all.
All right, so I got a motion, Mr. Calhoun, second by Mr. Bishop. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign. So I think that wraps up our public hearings, Mr. Slay.
Yes, sir.
So
We handled
you
that
got
item L.
item M under
Yes,
your
sir.
other section.
Absolutely. So this is consideration of and potential action to adopt a resolution of support for a local and private legislation that reauthorizes the Rankin County Recreational Grant Fund. As the board knows, for many, many years, this board has had access to authority by state law for $50,000 distribution to qualified nonprofit organizations that provide recreational opportunities for school-aged children in Rankin County, and we've utilized that program now for multiple board cycles. That law sunsetted, the original local and private legislation sunsetted, and so we need to have it reauthorized for 22 and going forward. And so I'm asking for authority to adopt a resolution, which we have here, for the board president to execute, saying we want our delegation to drop that local and private legislation so we have that program back reauthorized.
Yeah, one of the things that bothered me was if you hadn't spent your rec fund money, you can't now. It's locked.
Huh?
If you hadn't spent your rec fund money,
I know.
you can't.
I know,
Now,
so you
that
gotta
locks
get
it.
this approved.
That's right. So I guess just for the future side, if we see something fixing to expire, we need to know about it on the 31st, to where if we want to
Right.
go ahead and spend at that point, because now we're hung till July 1.
Yeah, so.
So
the-
if it
the
passes again,
Yeah,
right, so-
the reauthorization would be in,
Yep.
unless the law says that it's effective upon passage, which I guess we could ask that it be, then we'll need to wait until July 1. But you'll have from
Let's
July 1 to
ask
the end
that.
of the year to get it.
Let's
to get
ask
it taken
that.
care of.
July 1, let's ask that if it's be okay upon passage.
Upon passage,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the right way to do that.
Yeah.
Because that would reauthorize it before April 1st.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, it'll still work,
Yep.
July, but still.
All right.
Whatever.
Board wishes to entertain a motion
I
for
make
that?
a motion.
Motion by Mr. Morrison.
Second.
Second by Mr. Calhoun. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign.
Mr.
Mr.
President.
Slate, I think that wraps you up, unless you got
Yes,
something
I
extra.
do have one other thing, just to mention, this is just informational purposes. So my understanding is that the issue at the reservoir that you addressed with Mr. Harrison originally, where the water lines were damaged, we've got an ongoing issue with AT&T on other matters, and my understanding is that was AT&T's deal. And so what I would suggest, and what I would intend to do at this point, is to address with AT&T how they're going to deal with and handle reimbursements and payment for damages and all of that other stuff that affects the activity out of the reservoir before we address anything on our side.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to satisfy.
And I want to add one other thing too, just bringing it back up, and I should have said this when Mr. Harrison was up there. I just want to be sure that they've drained 3 water tanks because of this ruptured line, that if there's also any damage to our roadways, we make that noted and allow you guys to go ahead and sink back into it. I know A&T contracts it out, and they contracted out and contracted out, and they were inside the right-of-way operating where they should, and they hit the line. But if we got that much water, it's got to go somewhere. And I just want to be sure if we have some kind of underlying issue with the roads, that we come back to those guys to be sure we take care of that. We've done road work there in the last couple of years. I want to be sure that we don't lose our investment into those roads.
How do they not stop it before 3?
I don't know. That's a great question.
They boring, they probably don't see it.
They probably don't see it come out.
Me and them are evaluating that Daniel now.
Okay.
And we should have a report to Craig here.
Next month. I just want to be sure that you guys are on top of that, because if we've got damage to our infrastructure because of this leak, that water went somewhere. Yeah. I mean, it's, I don't want it, I don't want it
Out
out
of
of
the ground?
So the permit was AT&T's permit, right?
They
Okay.
washed
I just-
underneath our road?
I didn't think I missed that. All right. All right.
So, all right.
I just wanted to make sure you guys knew we were, all matters are on the table as it relates to how we're dealing with them.
Right.
And these things are not unrelated.
Yeah.
We get accused pretty consistently of taking things that are not related to one another and trying to solve multiple issues, which I don't understand why that's a problem.
Okay.
It's the same AT&T. Okay?
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Slay. Mr. Hicks, good morning.
Good morning.
Glad to have you back. I don't like you on conference call. I kind of like your presence here. But I guess having you on conference call is better than nothing, huh?
I was here last week.
I know, but it's just not the same. All right, so item A, Mr. Hicks, under your section is potential action with solid waste rates. How was y'all's trip?
Real good.
Day trip? Y'all spend the night or?
No.
In and out?
In and out. Flying.
Made it home at 12 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
Long
Mr. Hicks,
day.
if you would.
Yes, sir. Item A is the discussion of and potential action on what Rankin County charges for solid waste rates to the citizens. What I've handed you is the current cost to Rankin County. It's broken down by month and by quarter. And as you can see, the current quarterly rate of cost to Rankin County per housetop is over $60 per quarter, or over $20 per month.
What are residents paying at this moment?
Currently, the current rates are $50 per quarter is the regular rate, and $25 per quarter is the reduced rate for over 65 and disabled.
So we're going in the hole by.
So the disabled's gonna go up to,
What we're recommending is to raise from $50 per quarter, the regular rate, to $75 per quarter, which will be $25 per month, but billed quarterly. And the reduced rate would go from $25 to $60 per quarter. And that $60 is still probably not gonna cover the county's costs, so it'll be
so the seniors are gonna be paying what?
$60 per quarter, $20 per month.
Well, they were paying 25. Well, we're gonna hear from that.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Our costs have increased since the last rate increase was back in 2014. So it's been 8 years since the county has increased the solid waste fees.
Well,
That
Keith,
seemed
with
that
your
long, but I remember
projections,
doing it.
how far will this carry us out?
We're looking that this will carry us through the current contract, at least the first part of the contract, which is 6 years.
Okay. All right. I make a motion to approve.
All right, so motion to approve by Mr. Bishop.
And just as clarification, that's increasing the rates to $75 regular rate and $60 for the reduced rate.
Yep. Mr. Bishop?
Yes, sir.
All right. So motion by Mr. Bishop.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion?
And that will be effective April 1st.
Okay.
Phone call, phones will light up.
Yep.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with the light sign? Thank you, Mr. Hicks.
ain't got no
Item
choice.
B.
So you put the
Yeah,
publication on.
there is,
saying they come.
there is no
We're actually
choice.
going to send a notice to all those that are
Effective.
automatic withdrawals.
Yeah.
Because they will not get a
Get a
statement.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
so we'll send a
Oh.
notice this month.
Is there any way to put on those notices, a sentence or two justification on what's happened.
We can do that.
I mean, just to say, hey, yeah, with Bishop's cell number on it. So,
Well, I
but I mean, no, I guess what I'm saying,
Well-
just a little bit of explanation saying this is why.
Yes.
You know,
We can
the
work
killing thing is over the past 2 years, we've probably had the worst service
Yeah.
that we've ever had.
Caroline can do that.
Well, COVID.
Well,
There's only limited space.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be a short, quick sentence. So
I
Slay
think
usually
that
bills by
it's not gonna be.
Slay usually bills by the number of words. So we're gonna cut him back down on just a few words to fit it in that box, but some kind of special wording on there.
we really,
Well,
really
it's gonna be, you're right, you don't have much space at all.
Keith and I can work with Caroline to make.
Just to
sure
get the right
that
wording.
what the parameters are with the length of the statement. It's probably-
Just send it out, say Happy Valentine's.
Keith, one thing you might need to explain is that the county's been offsetting this fund out of the general the past
2
couple-
years at least.
yeah.
Well, I think also this would be probably a good thing if we could talk Mr. Chuck into putting something in the paper in regards to the increase in your waste management bill. We could also have some more explanation there.
Yeah, we're gonna put a notice in the newspaper.
Yeah.
Okay, that's.
Right.
I would just like maybe
That'll happen.
sometimes those public notices are kind of dry and boring, where it gets more juicy, I guess, if we can give a little bit better explanation, so,
I bet this spreads pretty fast.
yeah, no doubt.
What we'll do is we'll talk about it amongst ourselves, and then we'll come back to you guys and let you know. If it turns out that some sort of messaging on the actual notice or bill itself just won't work, then we may have to come back and say, hey, here's what it's gonna cost us to put an actual direct mail notice out.
Okay.
That
Yeah.
may be what you guys.
The better thing to do.
Because I think that may help some, at least they won't say you got blindsided.
I think it's a good idea.
What'll happen is they go to buy their tag, and they can't. That's when they find out.
Right, well, there's a very real cost, to get some type of notice
Yeah,
out.
you're
even a
talking
courtesy
about some
notice.
real costs. Send somebody to every house. Whew.
Well, and I guess the main thing is just that the public understands that this is with the bid prices that came back from our contractor.
I mean,
So,
that would be nice
and
if
if we had a
everybody knew
different-
that we're not making any money off this deal.
If we,
We're
if we
trying to
had a
break even.
transfer station, it might would reduce
See?
it.
One part maybe that you need to know about too, for sure, is Delta actually making the change in the system, they very well may charge us,
Huh.
they or not.
Yeah, we may be better served just to look at a separate index card, unrelated to Delta's system,
Okay.
and try to push something out to our
Customers.
account holders.
All right.
That's not gonna get everybody, by the way.
That's right.
We got folks helping themselves to our trash that aren't
Yep.
in our billing system. I don't guess they care what we charge.
It doesn't matter to them. We're not paying anyway.
Those are the ones we need to find out about.
All right, Mr. Hicks, item B.
Item B is the authority to purchase 5 used Ford Police Interceptor vehicles from the Missouri Highway Patrol, and authority for the Sheriff's Department employees to travel, to pick those up and pay their travel expenses.
All right, so motion, the board wishes to entertain a motion.
So motion.
So motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Gaines to approve these purchases. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with a like sign. So item B passes. Mr. Hicks, you have anything else
I do.
you want to throw?
I do. This last minute item. I would ask the board under additional business to add authority to enter into a programming services agreement with Data Systems Management Incorporated, and authority for the board president to execute that document.
All right, so the board wishes to entertain a motion?
So move.
Are they need to add that to the agenda?
Yes, sir.
So a motion to add it to the agenda, Mr. Bishop?
So move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with a like sign. Then a motion to approve.
Yep.
Mr. Bishop?
Second.
Second by Mr. Gaines. Any further discussion?
Yeah, what is this for?
This is to provide programming services at a contract rate for any AS400 work that needs to be done.
We didn't have one of those already?
No, sir. We've been working off a PO as needed.
I got you.
This just allows us to enter into an agreement for a set rate whenever we need it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with a like sign. Mr. Hicks, anything else?
No, sir.
Additional business. Mr. Slay?
Well, I think we will have, but I need you guys to work with me on an executive session
Okay.
at this point.
All right. Anything else under additional business right now, Mr. Bishop? Gaines? Mr. Morrison? Mr. Calhoun? All right, with that being said,
I make a
so
motion, discuss the need, go into executive session.
So, second.
for litigation,
Yep.
Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with light sign? Then a motion.
Make a motion, go into executive session for litigation.
Motion to go in by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Morrison. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? All right, executive session.
Hey, Keith. You and Craig. Hey, Craig.